Have you ever wondered why someone might say, "I don't need anyone"? Is it truly a sign of strength, or is there something deeper hiding beneath those words? What if this declaration of independence, often admired and celebrated, is actually a silent warning, a wall built to protect from vulnerability and intimacy? In today's video, we'll explore the hidden meanings behind phrases like this and dive deep into the subtle yet powerful dynamics that can shape relationships. From emotional walls to unresolved traumas, we'll uncover the signs of emotional disconnection and how they can impact not just the person saying those words but also the people who love them. By the end of this video, you'll understand the dangers of emotional isolation when someone says they don't need anyone, how to recognize when accusations and blame are signs of deeper emotional barriers, why minimizing your dreams and accomplishments can silently destroy your self-worth, how unresolved bitterness toward ex-partners reveals emotional unavailability, and most importantly, you'll gain clarity on how to protect your emotional well-being and build healthier relationships. So, stay with us until the end. You won't want to miss the final reflection that could change how you approach love, connection, and self-worth forever. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. Number 1. If she says she doesn't need anyone. There is something undeniably captivating about the idea of independence, a quiet yet potent strength that seems to radiate from someone who declares, with an almost defiant certainty, that they don't need anyone, that they are perfectly fine standing alone. It's a declaration that can spark admiration, even reverence. You find yourself in awe of the apparent power that comes with self-sufficiency, with the allure of a person who has conquered the need for support, companionship, or love. It feels like a kind of invulnerability, a badge of honor worn proudly. But be cautious, my dear, because beneath that bold statement often lies something far more intricate, more nuanced, and at times, far more dangerous for you. When a woman tells you she doesn't need anyone, she's not simply asserting her ability to live independently or managing her own life with grace. No, there's often a deeper layer beneath the surface. What she may be signaling isn't just emotional strength, but rather a rejection of vulnerability. A resistance, conscious or unconscious, to share her innermost thoughts and feelings with another person. It's a refusal to depend emotionally on anyone, to let down her guard and trust in the possibility of emotional intimacy. At first, this might sound like sheer strength, a woman who doesn't need anyone to validate her, to complete her, to fill the gaps in her heart. But in reality, what she might be doing is keeping herself closed off, emotionally walled in, choosing not to lean on anyone out of fear, out of past wounds that she hasn't yet healed. This wall she's built, brick by brick, in order to protect herself, doesn't just isolate her, it isolates everyone around her. It keeps you at arm's length, no matter how close you try to get. The more you try to break through, the harder it becomes to reach her. And, perhaps most painfully of all, you begin to realize that she's not asking for help, nor is she looking for emotional support. She's perfectly fine keeping everything to herself, even if it means keeping you in the dark about the most intimate parts of her life. And that wall, while it may protect her heart from further harm, also keeps you out, leaving you feeling helpless, disconnected, and misunderstood. In a relationship, when she says she doesn't need anyone, it's more than just a proclamation of independence. It's an emotional barrier, a shield that refuses to allow anyone to enter, no matter how much you long to be the one who offers her solace and understanding. It's an emotionally unbalanced position for you to occupy. On one hand, you feel the desperate need to show her that you're here for her, that you're steadfast, that you can be the person she can count on when the world feels heavy. You want to be the one who helps lighten her load, who stands by her side and offers a soft place to land. But on the other hand, she holds firm to her wall, stubbornly keeping her emotions hidden and denying you the very space you need to create a meaningful connection. It's as if you're standing at the edge of her world, longing to be invited in, but she refuses to open the door. This dynamic, my dear, is more than just frustrating. It is draining, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You find yourself caught in a constant cycle of giving more and more, while she holds onto her self-imposed isolation. You keep trying, hoping that one day she will allow you to see her for who she truly is, but the effort leaves you feeling like a stranger in your own relationship. The love and affection you give her feel like they never quite make it through the walls she's built. And with every failed attempt, with every moment where you feel more distant than ever, you start to question whether it's worth it. Is it really love if she can't allow you to love her fully? Is it truly a relationship if it feels like you're the only one reaching out, the only one trying to make the connection? A healthy, thriving relationship is not built on self-sufficiency alone. As Aristotle famously stated, human beings are fundamentally social creatures. We are not meant to live in isolation, to stand alone in the world. We crave connection, intimacy, and belonging. Even in the most resilient, emotionally independent individuals, the need for meaningful human connection is essential. Even Stoicism, which champions emotional control and autonomy, acknowledges that being part of a community and engaging with others is vital to living a fulfilled life. No one, no matter how strong they may appear, is meant to live in emotional exile. Everyone needs someone to share their hopes, their fears, their pain, and their joy. To feel understood, heard, and truly seen. To feel that their existence matters to someone beyond themselves. If she tells you she doesn't need anyone, it might be her way of protecting herself, of shielding her vulnerable heart from past trauma. But you must ask yourself, how long can you continue in a relationship where one person refuses to open up? Where one person chooses to shut themselves off from the very intimacy that makes life rich and fulfilling? That barrier she's erected isn't something you can simply tear down. No matter how much you care, no matter how much you try, you cannot break through her defenses if she isn't ready to let them down. She has built those walls for a reason. They are a product of her past, of the hurt and betrayal she has faced before, and only she has the key to unlock them. You can't force her to open up. You can't make her trust you, no matter how much you wish you could. And if she isn't willing to break down that wall, if she isn't willing to let you see the raw, vulnerable side of her, then the wisest thing for you to do is to walk away before you become ensnared in a relationship where you're the only one giving, the only one trying, while she remains emotionally unavailable. A relationship that leaves you emotionally drained and unfulfilled is not worth your time, your energy, or your heart. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. When a relationship begins to drain you emotionally, it's not just because of a lack of reciprocity. It's because the dynamic becomes imbalanced, unfair. The emotional weight becomes too heavy to carry on your own. It's as though you're the only one doing the work, the only one making the effort to keep things alive, while the other person simply coasts along, never truly engaging, never truly participating in the shared emotional labor that a relationship requires. This is where another toxic dynamic can set in, when she refuses to take responsibility for her part in the relationship and instead places all the blame for any problems or shortcomings on you. When every issue, every misunderstanding, every emotional disconnect becomes a direct accusation aimed at you, it isn't just a matter of miscommunication, it becomes an emotional burden, one that can feel suffocating and, eventually, unbearable. You start to question whether anything you do is ever good enough, whether your best efforts are ever truly seen or appreciated. Number 2, if she always accuses you and never reflects. Relationships are complex, filled with moments of joy, laughter, and connection, but also, naturally, periods of tension and conflict. After all, when two people from different backgrounds, with different experiences, come together, there will inevitably be friction. But what separates a healthy relationship from a toxic one isn't the absence of conflict, because conflict is a part of life, but rather the ability of both partners to take responsibility for their own role in the problems that arise. This is where a clear warning sign manifests, one that you cannot afford to ignore. If she constantly accuses you and never takes a moment to reflect on her own part in the issues, it's time to stop and observe carefully. I'll share with you a powerful lesson I learned from a dear friend, Isabel. She always used to say, discussions are like mirrors. They reflect both you and the other person at the same time. She was right, and it's a profound truth that rings with wisdom. However, it's not always as simple as that. I know situations, and perhaps you do too, where it feels as though that mirror only reflects one side, yours. It's as if, in every argument, every disagreement, every miscommunication, all the blame and responsibility are placed squarely on you. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much effort you put into resolving things, you find yourself being accused of ruining everything, or somehow always falling short. It's exhausting. It's emotionally draining. When a person refuses, or worse, is unwilling to take responsibility for their own mistakes, what they're truly saying is that they're not ready for an equal partnership. A relationship is not a stage where one person points fingers and the other simply receives the blame. It's a delicate dance, a collaborative effort, where both partners must be able to acknowledge their own missteps and work together to find harmony. The problem with being with someone who continuously accuses you of being the source of all the issues is that, over time, it begins to erode your sense of self-worth. You start to question yourself. Even when you know you've done nothing wrong, the constant accusations wear on your confidence. It's like walking on eggshells, afraid to speak up, afraid to voice your concerns, because every little thing could turn into a storm of blame. This dynamic, my dear, is unsustainable and profoundly unhealthy. The lesson here is clear. No one should have to live under that kind of emotional burden. I remember Carlos, a man I met at a relationship workshop, whose story struck me deeply. He told me how, for years, he lived with a partner who, in every conflict, would point at him and say, "You always ruin everything." That simple phrase, repeated over and over, became like a dagger, cutting him down every time he tried to express his feelings or raise a concern. She would immediately reject his perspective and turn the conversation into an accusation, shifting the blame onto him for everything that went wrong. Carlos, over time, started to believe that he was incapable of having a healthy relationship, and it wore him down. But one day, during a minor argument, he realized something profoundly liberating. He had spent years apologizing for things that weren't even his responsibility. In that moment, he understood the depth of the emotional manipulation he had been under, and he vowed to stop accepting the weight of blame that wasn't his to carry. The inability or unwillingness of your partner to reflect on their own role in the relationship isn't just an annoying flaw. It creates a dangerous imbalance that can profoundly affect your emotional well-being. And the most perilous aspect of this is that, if you don't recognize it for what it is, you might start to believe that this pattern is normal. It's not. A mature, healthy relationship is built on mutual respect, communication, and reflection. Both partners need to be willing to take a hard look in the mirror, even when it's painful, and recognize where they've gone wrong. The Stoics taught us a fundamental principle: know yourself. It's a powerful reminder that growth and change begin within. But when you're with someone who refuses to look inward, someone who constantly shifts the blame onto you without ever questioning their own actions, you end up carrying a burden that doesn't belong to you. You begin to lose yourself in the process, doubting your worth and constantly second-guessing your every move. If you find yourself in a relationship where your partner refuses to reflect on her own actions, constantly accusing you without ever taking accountability, ask yourself, how much longer can you endure this emotional weight? How much longer will you accept being the only one who's expected to change, to apologize, to make things right? Because life, my dear, is far too precious and too short to live it under the constant strain of being blamed for everything. A relationship should lift you up, not drain you dry. It should be a partnership where both individuals feel seen, heard, and valued. And speaking of unbalanced relationships, there's another subtle sign that may not seem harmful at first, but over time, it can be just as emotionally exhausting. When she minimizes your dreams, accomplishments, or ambitions, downplaying your achievements, belittling your passions, or failing to celebrate your successes, it may seem like a minor issue at first, a simple oversight. But it's not. It's a silent, insidious way of undermining your self-worth, and it's just as dangerous. Let's explore why this attitude is so destructive and how to recognize it before it begins to eat away at your sense of self. Number 3. If she minimizes your dreams or accomplishments. Picture this. You've been pouring your heart and soul into a project, something you've dedicated months of hard work to. It might not be something that will change the world, but it's deeply meaningful to you. Perhaps it's a small achievement at work, a creative idea you've been nurturing, or a hobby that brings you joy and fulfillment. You're excited to share this passion, to let someone close to you into the world you've worked so hard to build. But when you turn to her, expecting support, the response is cold, almost dismissive. That's not a big deal, or I don't understand why you're wasting your time on that. At first glance, these words might seem harmless, just a passing remark or an offhand comment. But the truth is, they hit you like a punch to the gut. They don't just undermine your project, they strike at the very core of who you are. Your dreams, your ambitions, your small victories, they're not just tasks or goals. They are an extension of you. They represent who you are, who you want to become, and what drives you. And when those things are minimized, dismissed, or belittled, something inside you begins to waver. The relationship starts to feel shaky, and over time, you may start questioning yourself. Are your dreams really important? Are you worth supporting? This behavior is not just about a difference in interests or misunderstandings. It's about something much deeper, a fundamental emotional disconnect. When someone truly loves you, they don't need to fully understand every aspect of your goals or passions. They don't have to share your excitement. But they should support you because they understand how much these things mean to you. The real issue isn't that she doesn't share your enthusiasm, but that she actively discredits it. She belittles something that, to you, feels monumental. And that, my dear, is the beginning of a dangerous pattern that can stifle your personal growth and leave you feeling small and insignificant. Plato once spoke of the soul being made up of 3 parts: reason, spirit, and desire. Your dreams are born from that intricate mix. They represent your spirit, your desires, and your hopes. They are the manifestation of who you want to be and what fuels your passion for life. When someone invalidates those dreams, whether consciously or not, they are dampening that spirit. And if you let it, you will begin to doubt yourself. You might even begin to wonder if your dreams are just fantasies, or worse, if they aren't worthy of being pursued. But here's something crucial to remember. Your dreams, your aspirations, your accomplishments, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant they may appear to others, do not require validation from anyone except yourself. You don't need anyone else's approval to know that they are meaningful. They are yours, and that makes them valuable. The problem arises, however, when you share your life with someone who doesn't offer the support and encouragement you deserve. Instead of feeling like a safe space, a refuge where your dreams are nurtured and your goals are celebrated, the relationship becomes a place where your passions are met with indifference or worse, disdain. Imagine the toll this takes over time. Each time you try to share something meaningful to you, you're met with apathy or ridicule. Slowly, you begin to retreat. You stop talking about your goals because you fear the dismissive comments that will follow. You start to question your worth, and the person you love, the one you hope will champion your dreams, becomes the person who casts doubt on them. This emotional disconnect erodes the foundation of the relationship. It's no longer a place where you feel uplifted, encouraged, and motivated. Instead, it becomes a space where your spirit is drained. I want you to pause and think, how would your life be different if you were beside someone who, instead of diminishing your dreams, amplified them? Someone who, even if they didn't share your exact passions, could still look you in the eye and say, I know how important this is to you, and I'm here to support you? That is the kind of partnership that nurtures growth and fulfillment. That is the kind of relationship that adds value to your life, rather than taking it away. When you're in a relationship where your dreams are minimized, you're in a relationship that holds you back, that keeps you from reaching your full potential. And if you allow this pattern to continue unchecked, you'll find yourself withdrawing into silence, afraid to share the things that make you happy because they'll only be belittled. But a true partner will celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they may seem. They will stand beside you, cheering you on as you chase your dreams. Now, speaking of relationships that drain your energy, there's something even more insidious, more destructive, when she makes you feel like you're not enough. This message can be subtle, even unspoken, but its impact is profound. If you don't recognize it for what it is, it can slowly destroy your sense of self-worth. Let's dive into that in the next section. And if what you've heard so far has opened your eyes to some red flags you've been overlooking, I invite you to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button to support this content. Stick with me, because the most important lessons on how to protect your emotional peace and build deeper, healthier relationships are still to come. If you're committed to your personal growth, the final reflection I'll share could change the way you value yourself and the decisions you make in your life. And before we move on, let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to hear from you. Let's keep going. Number 4. If she says you're not enough. Of all the things someone can say to you in a relationship, few are as profoundly damaging as this: you're not enough. Sometimes, these words come directly, sharp and cutting, stripping away your confidence with brutal honesty. Other times, they come in the form of small, seemingly harmless comments that seem trivial in the moment, but sink into your heart, leaving deep and lasting scars. Phrases like, "You never do the right thing," "Why can't you just be like him or her," or "You can't meet my expectations," are not just criticisms of your actions. They are attacks on your very essence, your sense of self-worth. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. A healthy relationship should be a sanctuary, a place where you can feel valued and seen for who you truly are. It should be a space where you are free to express your authentic self without constantly feeling like you need to prove your worth or measure up to someone else's standards. But when someone makes you feel like you're not enough, when they consistently tell you that no matter what you do, it's never good enough, the issue isn't with you. It's with how they perceive themselves and, more disturbingly, how they project their insecurities onto you. Often, those who lash out and make you feel inadequate are not only grappling with their own inner fears and emotional voids, but are also using criticism and devaluation as a defense mechanism to protect themselves from their own sense of unfulfillment. I'll never forget the story of Raul, a listener who reached out to me with a story that echoed the painful experience so many face. He'd been in a relationship for 2 years that, at the beginning, felt perfect. Everything seemed to fall into place. His partner appeared to admire him, to see the value in everything he did. But over time, the dynamics began to shift. No matter what he did, it felt like he was falling short. If he cooked a special meal for her, she'd find something wrong with it. It could have been better. If he planned a surprise date, she'd criticize the choice of location, dismissing it as not quite right. And whenever he spoke about his goals, his future plans, she responded with disdain, implying that they were unrealistic and that he wasn't capable of achieving them. Raul tried everything he could think of to improve things. He poured more effort into his actions, constantly adjusting his behavior, believing that if he could just do more, be better, things would improve. But with every effort, it felt like the bar was being set higher, the expectations shifting just beyond his reach. He began to question himself. Was he not good enough? Why couldn't he make her happy? Why was it always his fault? Over time, Raul began to feel like a shell of the person he once was. His confidence drained, and the weight of constantly trying to meet her ever-changing expectations began to take a toll. He started to lose sight of who he was, what he liked, what made him happy. His self-esteem crumbled as he began to believe the things she said about him. No matter how hard he tried, nothing ever seemed to be enough. But one day, after much introspection and reflection, Raul came to a powerful realization. No matter how much he changed, no matter how hard he tried, he would never be able to satisfy someone who wasn't at peace with themselves. He recognized that the problem wasn't with him. It was with her inability to accept herself and her constant need to project her dissatisfaction onto him. That realization, though painful, set him free. He made the difficult decision to walk away from the relationship. The journey wasn't easy, but today Raoul is stronger, more self-assured, and has reclaimed the confidence he thought he had lost forever. Raoul's story is far from unique. Many people find themselves trapped in relationships where they are made to feel that they're simply not enough. But here's the hard truth. You are not here to fulfill someone else's impossible standards. Your worth does not depend on anyone else's approval or validation. As Viktor Frankl so eloquently said, man does not need to live to satisfy others but to find meaning in his own life. Your life is yours to live, and you don't need to change for someone who doesn't see your inherent worth. If you're in a relationship where you're constantly made to feel like you're not enough, you must ask yourself, do I want to spend my life trying to prove my worth to someone who can't even recognize it? A relationship should be a place where both people can grow, support each other, and become better versions of themselves together. It should never be a battleground where you're constantly weighed and measured, only to find yourself lacking. You deserve to be in a relationship that uplifts you, that celebrates your successes, no matter how small, and that supports you through your struggles, without the endless cycle of criticism and unreasonably high expectations. Now, as we move forward, there's another warning sign that often seems subtle at first but can be just as destructive in the long run, when someone always speaks badly of their ex-partners. On the surface, it might seem like harmless venting or a way to process past relationships, but when someone consistently speaks negatively about their exes, dismissing them, blaming them for everything that went wrong, it could be an indication of a much deeper issue. Why should this be a red flag, you ask? Well, let's dive into that next. When someone continually belittles their past relationships, it shows a lack of accountability and an unwillingness to acknowledge their own role in those relationships. It could also be a sign that they have unresolved issues and emotional baggage that they haven't worked through. Worse yet, it could suggest that they may eventually do the same to you when things get tough. If they can't speak kindly about their exes, how do you think they'll speak about you when the inevitable difficulties arise in your relationship? Let's explore why this dynamic is so toxic and why it's crucial to recognize the warning signs early on. Number 5. If she always speaks badly of her ex-partners. Every person has a past. It's inevitable. It's part of who we are, and it's woven into the fabric of our identity. This past includes all kinds of experiences, some beautiful, some heartbreaking, and some that simply didn't work out as we'd hoped. Among these, we all carry the weight of relationships that may have failed, ones that didn't meet the expectations we had, or ones that left us with emotional scars. However, there's a stark difference between acknowledging our pasts and using them as a platform for relentless negativity. If the person you are with constantly speaks badly about her ex-partners, blasting them with judgment, resentment, and cruelty, that is far more than just venting. It's a red flag that should not be ignored. It's a sign that there is unresolved hurt, a lack of self-awareness, and possibly a cycle of emotional instability that could undermine your own peace. At first, this might seem like just another conversation about someone's past relationships. But when someone consistently rips apart their exes, you begin to see more than just anger. You see a person who has not yet come to terms with the end of those chapters in their life. There's a difference between telling the truth about a painful experience and using that experience as a weapon. If she constantly uses her ex-partners as punching bags for her unresolved pain, it's not just about them. It's about her inability to heal. This speaks volumes about her emotional landscape, her inability to forgive, and her unwillingness to move forward. By continually criticizing those who once shared her life, she's revealing something vital about her internal world. When someone holds on to bitterness and resentment for the people who once meant something to them, they're not just displaying anger toward those individuals. They're showing you that they haven't healed, that they haven't processed their experiences with the grace and maturity needed for growth. It's almost as though they've chosen to hold on to a wound instead of allowing it to scar over and become part of their past. This is emotionally draining, both for her and for the people around her. If someone is unable to let go of their old relationships, to allow them to simply be what they are, past moments, they will struggle to build something healthy and lasting in the present. Think about it for a moment. If she cannot speak about her exes with any semblance of understanding or respect, how do you think she'll talk about you if things don't go well between you two? Imagine the future where she takes that same bitterness, that same scorn, and applies it to you. She could easily begin to tear you down, to project her anger, her hurt, and her disappointments onto you. The reality is that someone who holds on to their past mistakes and conflicts with so much intensity will likely drag that emotional baggage into every relationship they have, making it difficult for them to experience genuine peace or intimacy. And let's be clear, this doesn't mean a person can't have legitimate grievances with their past relationships. Of course, we all experience heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment. It's natural to feel anger, sadness, and frustration after something doesn't work out. What's truly important, however, is how someone handles those feelings. A person who speaks about their past relationships with respect, even when those experiences were painful, demonstrates that they have grown. They have learned from the hurt, forgiven the past, and are now in a place of emotional maturity where they can look forward, not back. But someone who constantly disparages their exes is stuck in a cycle. It's like they've been living in a holding pattern, constantly revisiting the pain and the drama, rather than breaking free and finding peace within themselves. If someone cannot find a way to leave the past behind, to accept the mistakes and the lessons it brought, then how can they possibly offer you the space and the peace you need in the present? The deeper issue here isn't simply that she's angry at her exes. The real concern is that her inability to process her emotions means that she's not fully present with you. She's living in a past that no longer exists, and that keeps her from fully engaging in the present moment. Relationships need presence. They need awareness, mutual respect, and the capacity to move forward together. If she's holding on to bitterness, she's not offering you the best of who she is. Ask yourself this. Do you want to share your life with someone who is so weighed down by the past? Who refuses to let go of things that cannot be changed? Do you want to build a future with someone who uses resentment as a crutch to avoid taking responsibility for their part in those relationships? The truth is, to build a healthy and enduring partnership, you need someone who can look back with understanding, who can accept what has happened, and who can look ahead with hope and optimism. Someone who is ready to heal, to let go, and to build something better, together. As Carl Jung wisely said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The inability to let go of the past will continue to direct the course of your future if you let it. At the end of the day, it's not just about what she thinks of her ex-partners. It's about what her actions and words say about her emotional health and growth. How does she view the world? How does she handle challenges? Is she still stuck in an emotional rut, unable to learn from her past? Or is she someone who has worked to understand, forgive, and move forward? Reflect on your own life. How do you speak about your past? Can you find the lessons and the growth that came from your own heartbreaks and mistakes? Your partner should be able to do the same. If they can't, they may be trapped in a cycle of blame, and that's not a healthy environment for either of you. Because, my dear, let's not forget this truth. What someone says about others speaks more about them than it does about the people they're criticizing. It's an opportunity for you to listen carefully, to observe, and to make a conscious decision about the energy you want in your life. When someone speaks with judgment and bitterness, it's not just the ex-partners they're reflecting. It's their own inability to move forward, to forgive, and to accept what's behind them. It's a constant echo of unresolved pain, and that kind of energy will seep into every corner of your relationship. Ultimately, this isn't just about recognizing the signs of emotional unavailability in others. It's an invitation to consider your own emotional well-being, to choose relationships that help you grow, challenge you to be better, and encourage you to live with peace. It's about becoming conscious of the energy you're allowing into your life. The words someone speaks, the way they carry themselves, all reveal the depths of their inner world. And if that world is filled with resentment and bitterness, you have to ask yourself, do I want to let that energy into my life? The truth is, you're not here to settle. You're not here to fit into a relationship that doesn't serve you, that doesn't value you for who you are. Your joy, your peace, your dignity, they should always be your priority. If someone doesn't respect those things, it's time to let them go, no matter how difficult that may seem. Remember this, always, you don't have to change to fit into someone else's life. You simply need to stay true to yourself. Surround yourself with people who recognize your worth and who appreciate the unique person you are. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This applies to the people you choose to let into your world. This space is here for you to reflect, to find guidance, and to make wiser decisions about the relationships you choose to invest in. If this is your first time joining us, I invite you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. There are more lessons on the way that can transform the way you live, the way you relate, and the way you see yourself. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you for taking this moment for yourself. Tell me in the comments, have you experienced any of these signs? What did you learn from that experience? I'd love to hear your thoughts because your journey, your reflections, and your growth matter. Together, we can continue to build lives that are rich with meaning, love, and peace. What have you learned from this video? Have you ever faced a relationship where emotional walls, blame, or dismissiveness made you question your worth? What is one insight you'll take from today's discussion and apply to your life moving forward? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your reflections. If you found value in this video, please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us as we continue to create content that inspires, uplifts, and helps you build a richer, more fulfilling life. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.